Hey everybody. This morning I was kind of thinking about, like I often do, I think about why people who create things, musicians or creators in general, artists, what have you, why we often worry ourselves so much about what other people think. Now I understand the most logical reason for me would be uh, it could impact you financially if people don't like what you do. That can mean that you don't make money and then you have to do something that you don't necessarily want to do in terms of jobs. But I think that, and a lot of people say this, you got to do what you love and you got to push for it, but that's a hard thing to do when you got real bills and you have real responsibilities. So, the thing that always kind of, when I think along those lines, and I think, you know, even with this little podcast here, I think about, when I said nobody's going to listen to it, I'm not, successful, I'm not popular. Why would people listen to anything I have to say? Um, I think what I kind of think back on those things is I remember one time I was having a conversation with somebody about just singers in general, and this person actually said that Beyonce couldn't sing. Like they didn't think she sounded good and she didn't have talent. And I thought that that was the most ridiculous thing I had ever heard. Oh, I heard the same thing about Chris Brown. Like they said he doesn't have talent. Like those two were the most insane statements I had ever heard because to me, both Beyonce and Chris Brown are immensely talented, like insanely and undeniably talented, singing and dancing. I watched one of the Beyonce specials that she did where she was putting on a show, and just how hard she worked kind of it just impressed me because I knew she was talented, but I didn't know about how hard she worked to get to that point. How many times she did the rehearsal and how she was so attentive to the details of everything surrounding the performance and everything about even how it appeared. And I know that she has a team to help her with that, but just her personal investment into her production and to her product that she puts out was just it was impressive to me and it was inspiring to me. So for me to hear that person say, "Oh, Beyonce can't sing," and they were dead serious, it was just it kind of brought things into perspective. Because if a person who I think, in the case of Beyonce and Chris Brown, are so immensely talented and so light years ahead of so many other artists out there, can be labeled as untalented and not good and all this and all that, then why on earth would I, a person who has, very few followers on, the projects that I do, and very little input and no monetary gain for any of the podcasts or things like that, or even drumming to that aspect, why would I concern myself with what people think in that regard? So I kind of I learned to temper myself in regard to what how much weight I give other people's opinions, because at the end of the day you have to do it because you love it, and the only way to get really good at anything is, I believe, that you have to, A, you put in the work, and B, you have to love it, because if you don't love it, you're not going to be willing to put in the work. There's no way you can invest those 10,000 hours in something that you don't love, not enjoy, but you have to absolutely love it to put in that time, because there are going to be times where you won't see progress, and there are going to be times where you won't see big results. There'll be minuscule changes, and there'll even be times where you feel like you don't have any forward progress, like you're just stagnant. And I think in those times it's important to keep pushing. And I guess this message is not for anyone else uh, necessarily, but the message is for me. So when I hear this back later at a time where I'm not feeling the best, or I feel like I'm stagnated, I can remind myself you have to keep pushing. During those times, you have to keep pushing, because those are times where things are settling in, I believe. When you're building things, or even if you're putting in flooring, or whatever type of building material for walls and stuff like that, you have to give it some time to set. For flooring, it's a lot of times 24 hours or 36 hours, what have you. For some building materials, it may be more or less, but you have to give it time to settle. You have to give it time to acclimate to the new conditions. So I think it's the same when we grow. You have to give yourself time to settle. So in those times where it doesn't feel like you're moving forward or backward, you have to be allowed to settle in that space and get comfortable and get acclimated to where you are, so you can build from there and have a strong foundation versus just rushing through and nothing being really set in place and not having the skills locked into place to push you to the next plateau. So I think about that again in the case of when that person said that Beyonce couldn't sing. I've also heard that about Fantasia, who I think is phenomenal. But it shows how varied the perspective of the audience in general could be. So I think we can't put too much weight on what other people think. You just have to do it because you love it or you enjoy it. So in the case of the podcast, I'm going to keep doing it, and all of them, because I enjoy it. I enjoy the talking. I enjoy the expression of my ideas and my thoughts. Even if it's just me who hears these, or even if I never publish these, I enjoy the fact that I can express myself and not have to feel like I'm isolated or I'm alone or these views are, just mine and I'm weird or whatever the case may be. I am weird, but whatever the case may be, I think that it's important that you take a chance and you do express yourself and you do keep pushing, because even this is a part of me branching out and growing and pushing, and maybe this will turn into speaking engagements, or maybe I'll write a book. I don't know, but this is just one step along that plateau. uh, I don't know what comes after this, but it just was on my mind to remind myself and whoever may be listening to this that you kind of have to remember that people say that Beyonce can't sing. They said that Michael Jackson couldn't dance. They said that Da Vinci couldn't paint. So they say a number of absolutely phenomenal people aren't skilled in the skill aren't skilled in the arenas that they later became legends in. I remember a story that I heard a couple times, and I even heard it on an interview from Ella Fitzgerald, one of my favorite singers, probably one of my all-time favorite singers. And Ella Fitzgerald was saying that on the first time that she sang, I think she said she was at the Apollo, and she intended to go on and dance, and I think that either she saw another girl dancing, or she said she got too scared to dance, so she went out there and sang. And just something as simple as you know just doing what made her feel the most comfortable became a career that lasted many, many years and influenced people long after her death. So I think it's important that we stick to our guns, and that if you love doing it and it makes you feel good and it doesn't hurt anybody and it's fun, I say you keep doing it. So those are my thoughts for today. And I do think Beyonce can sing. I think she's phenomenal. I think she's a hard worker and a great dancer. I think Chris Brown is phenomenal. I think he's an incredible dancer, hard worker, and one day maybe I'll be mentioned in some of the conversations about great people in whatever field I may choose to venture down. So, all right, have a good day, guys.